Griefer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of University of Kentucky Wildcat Hockey. I'm Aaron Rose alongside Jason Griefer. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last 2 weeks of the season. Tonight, University of Kentucky Wildcats take on the Penn State Ice Lions. What a night we got on tap for you, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we see the return of one Daniel Ampliford coming back tonight after his, almost season-threatening shoulder injury.
Absolutely. He suffered the broken collarbone towards the end of last semester, so it'll be interesting to see how well he's been able to stay in shape and how good his conditioning is. And plus, you also have to wonder how out of sync he's going to be, how much his timing will be off, having missed so much. We don't know how much he's been practicing with the team. You assume he's been doing some workouts with the team, but still, it's a whole different game between practice and game situation. So I would expect it'll take Daniel Ampliford maybe a period or a period and a half to really get his legs going under him before he starts feeling comfortable out there on the ice. Plus, it depends on how much we see him out there tonight. It depends on how much Coach Doherty wants to play him. If he's been given the full clearance, maybe Coach Doherty puts him out there full bore, or maybe decides to, slowly ease him back into the flow of play and into the system right now.
Definitely. Of course, Kentucky coming off a huge victory last week, huge set of victories over the University of Tennessee Volunteers, beating them last night or Saturday night 9-3 in what turned out to be, a little bit of a hellacious night when it came to the brawl in the second period. Kentucky, of course, lost 3 members of the squad.
The entire second line.
I see him back out there, though.
Be interesting to see if they'll play or not.
I think
talking about Rohar, Whitman, and Warmall, they were all involved in the brawl last week. All of them were ejected.
They will, if they're dressed out, they will be playing tonight. But it will be an interesting scenario. How's Coach Doherty going to play him here, knowing the temper of the second line? But then again, you almost got to put it on the perspective of Tennessee. What was going through Tennessee's mind after that goal was scored? Because something happened that triggered them to actually start fighting.
It's a rivalry game. Things are said. Kentucky just scored a goal, I believe, to make it somewhere along the lines of 6-2. The score was
right
when the brawl broke out, and it's just tempers flare. It's a rivalry, and things got out of hand for both teams. Three guys aside got ejected at that point, and if that second line does play tonight, again back to Daniel Ampliford, where does he fit in?
Right.
Does he go to the third line? If so, then you're possibly pushing somebody like Connor Jonas or Josh Nicker to the bench tonight. It'll be interesting to see how and where Ampliford fits into all this. Of course, we know his prowess is on special teams, so we expect him to see out there on power plays and on penalty kills, but where does he go on the 5-on-5 situations?
Definitely, and that's one thing you really need to look out for. That's one thing that, that had to be going through Daniel's mind because, with him sitting out, he has to be thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? What's the, where am I going to go after I come back? So he's out there, he's ready to go, and I think he's, he's set. An energy level has got to be there for him because he's really been wanting to get back into this.
You have to wonder, though,
into the groove.
You get out there in a situation, and it's like this with all athletes. You miss a period of time. You want to be out there so badly. Do you go into a game and get your first couple of shifts a little too hyper, a little too energetic, a little too aggressive? It'll be interesting to see how he feels himself out as far as starting out early.
And, of course, Kentucky coming down on the last 2 weeks. Now, one thing we really need to talk about, what's Penn State's mindset here? They're ranked number 11. This is the last week before the last rankings period. So Penn State here, number 11, what's going through their minds? Obviously, it's a must-win situation for them. But the question is, how are they going to attack the situation?
For Penn State, I think coming in, as you mentioned, ranked number 11, they have to come here with the mindset of we have to sweep.
Right.
They cannot, at worst, they can split. They cannot afford to get swept by Kentucky. If they get swept by Kentucky, they can kiss any opportunity at the regionals goodbye.
Right.
They have to, at worst, split here. And if not, the best case scenario for Penn State, in order to improve their ranking, is to sweep the Wildcats. And Penn State, their game is normally defense, coming in They score less than 5 goals a game. They allow just a shade over 3. Defense is their name of the game. Their 2 top goaltenders have a combined save percentage of around .920. That's getting the job done. Both of them have GAAs under 2.75. Talking about Thomas Badelli and Patrick Moore. So, defense and goaltending is the name of the game with them. And looking at some of their stats, their leading scorer only has 26 points.
Wow.
That's Dylan Huckestein. He has, in 23 games, 13 goals and 13 assists, but they've got balance. Guys with 6 goals, 10 goals, 10 goals, 8 goals, 8 goals, 7, 9 across the board. They're a very balanced squad. They don't put a lot on the board in the way of offense, but they have guys that are capable of doing it when given the opportunity.
Now, the thing about Kentucky is we're looking at a very high-powered offense there.
Yes.
So Kentucky will have their work cut out for them because of the defensive prowess that Penn State has. And that's one thing Kentucky's been lacking on just a little bit in recent games is getting back on defense, especially in the transition. That's been a huge issue for Kentucky. It's proved to come back to bite them a couple times already.
Yeah, still working guys back in, changing some lines around now with the addition of Ampliford. You're right. You wonder how much that's going to factor into tonight's game, and you wonder with Penn State playing seemingly a more conservative style of play based on their numbers, will that be a factor tonight, or will Penn State realize that and recognize Kentucky's weakness in transition, going from offense to defense, and wonder, hey, here's a chance to put on a press and come out against our own scouting report and confuse them a little bit. And for Kentucky, how aggressive do they come out early on and try and put the pressure on the Penn State net and try and get a few goals early on and let Penn State know they've got their work cut out for them if they want to come in here and try and steal a game or two and make their way into the regional tournament?
Definitely. Huge night ahead here for us right here at the Lexington Knight Center. Obviously, this is one of our last 4 games going into the end of the year, and then Kentucky will be heading to the regional tournament, followed by national tournament if they are able to play out of that. So Kentucky, of course, wanting to finish the season on a strong note, maybe improve their ranking before we get to the regional tournament. They
will need some help. Coming into this weekend ranked number 6, as you mentioned. If they want to improve, they're going to have to win in convincing fashion and maybe get help. Maybe Temple, who's ranked number 5, maybe slip up this weekend, and perhaps Kentucky can sneak back up into that top 5. But I don't see them really going above number 5 because you have Ohio State and Miami sitting at 1 and 2. Then you have UMBC and Florida Gulf Coast sitting up there as your top 4. I think those are pretty much set in stone. Maybe a position or two will change between those 4 teams. But Kentucky right now, their goal should be to finish the season ranked number 5 in the region. And a sweep this weekend will go a long way to doing that.
Definitely. One thing to bring up right now, to get them away from UK hockey, let's go international hockey. Start of the Olympics absolutely tonight. And hockey, I do believe, gets going next week. So
you have to think
NHL runs through this Saturday.
And NHL effectively shutting down for 2 weeks.
Right.
But you have to think, with the Olympics being in Vancouver, that Canada will be the overwhelming favorite. It's almost a situation for Canada. Not only do they, for most countries, they want to win. Canada has to win.
Right.
Because everybody around the world, Canada is seen as the predominant place for hockey. Maybe Russia, maybe Sweden in there as well. But most people know Canada is the worldwide home for hockey. So for them, with this event being in their own country, they're almost in a must-win situation. For the United States, a very young team. I think it all depends on Ryan Miller in net. He's been a magnificent goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres all year long. If Kentucky wants to have a chance at medaling, in my opinion, Miller has to be the best goaltender. You
just said Kentucky.
Wow, USA. See, this is where my headset is. If the United States has any hopes of even getting on the podium as far as medaling, Ryan Miller has to be the best player in the Olympic tournament.
Well, you got to think you also got Miller. You got Miller, and you also got Tim Thomas out there.
Right, and you also have out there Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks, an incredibly exciting young player. I believe just 20, 21 years old. So very young, very exciting. Expect the USA team to make a lot of mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
But also, if they can, like I mentioned, if they can get Miller to play solid goaltending, and so far this season, you can make an argument that Miller has been, the best, not only the best goaltender, maybe win the Vezina Trophy, but also the MVP of the NHL for what he's done for Buffalo. So, if I almost said Kentucky in, if the United States wants to medal, it's going to have to be because of the goaltending of Ryan Miller. Scott's having fun with you on the camera.
Yes, he is.
But other than that, the United States just do not have enough cohesiveness within there. And plus, they've had a few injuries. I would best guess right now, I would say the United States maybe fifth.